Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well. Now that we're only a week away from the start of season one, I wanted to go over what you guys need to know so that you can be prepared when it goes live. In case you didn't know, they made it so that a portion of your now will now be migrating over to your seasonal characters, but only a portion of it. To make sure that the information is migrated over, on the 18th, the official patch for season one will be live. This is when you want to log in and pick a character that has the most progression on it. This character will be used as a baseline, and all the information that you have gotten on this character will be used as a baseline for the realm that the character is on. So if you're making a eternal realm, so non-hardcore, just softcore character, that will only apply to a softcore seasonal character. If you're making a hardcore character, you want to make sure that you're playing your hardcore character that has the most progression on it. The official start date for the season one patch is July 20th. First thing, which in my opinion is the most important, is the Altars of Lilith. This is a huge thing you don't want to miss out on because it gives you a ton of power from its stats. It may seem like a small amount because everything that you collect from each of these altars is +4 and so on, but some of them are actually Paragon points, which is huge for the late game. And after collecting all of these altars, yeah, it's +4 per each one, but it's huge. It adds up really quickly, and it does make your character significantly stronger. So it is something you want to get done. Plus, it's really annoying to have to kind of run around the entire map to just collect these. I'm going to throw up a map that someone from the community made, making the best route for you to collect each of these if you haven't done it yet or are unsure of the best way to do it. There's also a few websites that allow you to track which ones you've done and which ones you haven't done. So I'm going to put that in the description below. Now we need to talk about the fog of war and why that's so important. So right now, if you didn't know, if you were to go make a new character after you've completed the campaign, um, none of your fog of war is going to be lifted. It's all going to be covered. Your entire map is just going to be like gray. You're not going to see anything. You're not going to know what's going on, which sucks. And this is a huge deal because this lets you know where all the hell tides are. It lets you know where the dungeons are. It also will let you know where the season mechanic is happening. If you don't know, that's the season malignant. That's where the tunnels are and everything to collect your gems or hearts, whatever you want to call them. So that's great to know. And then ease of just knowing what's going on your map, even if with Legion events and world bosses, that's huge to know. I don't know how impactful Legion events or world bosses will be with this new season mechanic going on, but I do recommend you clear 100% of your map. I would be careful because there's a lot of spots that are like you think everything's done, and then you look at the map and there's this tiny little corner out in this region that you've completely uncovered that hasn't been uncovered, and you simply just have to walk in there. If you don't know what region is completed, if you go into your world map at the top of that map, it'll tell you how many of the areas you have discovered. So I highly recommend you go back, make sure you've got everything completely cleared, and get that done. Next thing you need to make sure you get done is complete your campaign. This is huge. This will carry over and allow you to choose the skip campaign option when making your new character. If you go straight into the game and still haven't completed your campaign progress, then you won't be able to interact with the new season mechanic right away. You're only going to be able to play around with everything there is to offer once that is complete. So if you're only a few quests away, I highly recommend you get that out of the way while enjoying it, of course, because it is a really good story. But I strongly recommend that you get that done. Unless you are planning to play through the campaign anyway through the season, then it's not a huge deal. But that is something to note. The next thing is to make sure that if you're playing hardcore and have gotten really far into the game but haven't quite yet got everything, I highly recommend you tread lightly the next couple of days. Get everything done and out of the way. But the kicker here is that if your character dies, then everything's lost. None of that progress will migrate over to season, and you will be starting with a clean slate. If you don't feel confident that you won't die, then I'd like to recommend you just stay where you are and wait until the start of season one, or at least until the 18th. On the 18th, quickly log in, select that character with most progress, and again, just play for like 2 seconds, and then you can hop off of it and do whatever you want the rest of your day. But I do recommend you go and quickly do that. Now, just to quickly touch on the topic of classes, for the start of season one, if you haven't already picked a class, I'd recommend starting out with something new. If you've played a Sorc this entire time, now's your chance to pick up another class and play that all the way to the end. We have so much more time now to actually get to the end game. Seasons last about 12 weeks or 3 months, if you prefer. So you have a lot more time to get geared and actually like experiment with the class, especially if you're someone that only has an hour or 2 hours per like week, even per night, just to kind of hop on, play a little bit, and then get off. So this is probably the perfect time to actually like dive into a class that you thought was interesting. And let's say you weren't enjoying this, like the first class you picked. Now this is the time to pick one that you want to play. My overall opinion for what class to be playing is going to be hard to give. I mean, there's 32 new powers from the hearts that we're going to be seeing, and 6 new aspects and 7 new uniques being added to the game. So the meta can shift a ton. Like everything that we know now to be strong could end up not being the strongest as soon as like season 1 drops. Some builds that we never even thought of being viable are now going to be viable, and probably even some of the strongest ones that we see, or we just, the ones that we have now are just going to be extremely strong and broken, and just probably the best way to go about playing the game. Overall, I'd just say pick what looks the most fun to you at the moment. Enjoy the time you're spending on the game rather than worrying about being the strongest or the quickest at something. There's no leaderboards, and from what I've heard recently, that won't even be coming out until season 2 or 3. So just enjoy yourself and don't get too hung up on being competitive. I see a lot of people as of late on Reddit and Twitter kind of crying, complaining that there's not a lot of content in the end game, which they're absolutely right. There isn't. There's not a lot of content in the end game. But at the same time, some of these people have 3 characters that are level 100 and have just been completely blasting through the game and haven't really stopped to enjoy what they're doing. I mean, I know there's some people that enjoy doing that specifically, just kind of rushing through all the game, like content that the game has to offer and stuff. But for the most part, most people don't do that. And I would just recommend take your time, enjoy what you're doing, and don't get too hung up on not being on par with the rest of your friends or something along those lines. Anyway, that'll be all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.